Imagine a world far more connected than we often believe, where mighty empires stretched across continents, their trade routes humming with wealth, their cities gleaming with bronze. Then, in a single, terrifying century, it all vanished. The palaces burned, the scrolls turned to ash, and the knowledge of generations simply ceased. This is the chilling enigma of the late Bronze Age collapse, a catastrophe so profound it plunged humanity into a dark age that lasted for centuries. What truly happened to bring down an entire globalized world? Before the cataclysm, the Eastern Mediterranean was a tapestry of thriving civilizations. The Hittite Empire dominated Anatolia, a formidable military power. In Greece, the Mycenaeans built grand palaces and intricate trade networks, their frescoes still whispering tales of heroes. Egypt, under the New Kingdom pharaohs, stood as a beacon of power and stability, and along the coast, vibrant city-states like Ugarit flourished, acting as vital hubs in a sprawling economic web, exchanging goods from tin to textiles across vast distances. This wasn't a collection of isolated kingdoms. It was a deeply interconnected global system, reliant on complex trade routes and shared resources. But this very complexity, this intricate dance of power and commerce, may have been its fatal flaw. Around 1200 BC, something shifted. It wasn't a single event, but a series of devastating blows that struck with terrifying speed. Within a mere 50 years, city after city fell. Mycenae, the jewel of Greece, was left in ruins. Hattusa, the mighty Hittite capital, lay desolate. Ugarit, a bustling port, sank beneath the waves after a catastrophic earthquake, its final letters unearthed centuries later, begging for aid that never came. The scale of destruction was unprecedented, and for generations, historians grappled with a single, perplexing question. How could so much crumble so quickly? What force or forces possessed such annihilating power? For centuries, one theory dominated: the mysterious sea peoples. Egyptian inscriptions, like the famous Medinet Habu temple reliefs, depict these enigmatic invaders as a relentless horde sweeping across the Mediterranean. They arrived by land and by sea, their composite bows and slashing swords bringing terror to coastal regions. Pharaoh Ramesses III famously claimed to have defeated them, but even his victory couldn't stem the tide of destruction. Who were these sea peoples? Their exact origins remain shrouded in mystery. A coalition of disparate groups, perhaps driven from their homes by famine or internal strife, leaving behind a trail of ruined cities. Some speculate they were dispossessed Mycenaeans, or perhaps even early Philistines. Their very anonymity adds to the chilling nature of their impact. But invasions alone rarely explain such a sweeping collapse. A more insidious enemy may have been at play: the very climate. paleoclimatological studies examining ancient pollen and sediment cores reveal a period of severe, prolonged drought across the eastern Mediterranean during this exact time. Imagine fertile lands turning to dust, rivers drying up, and crops failing year after year. For civilizations dependent on agriculture, this would have been a death knell. Famine would have led to mass migration, internal unrest, and desperate raiding. The interconnected nature of the Bronze Age meant that a food shortage in one region could trigger a ripple effect across the entire system, turning allies into enemies in a desperate struggle for survival. This environmental stress would have weakened empires, making them vulnerable to any external pressure. Could the Bronze Age giants have simply been too big, too complex for their own good? Another compelling theory points to inherent weaknesses within the system itself. These were centralized palace economies, highly specialized and reliant on long-distance trade for vital resources like tin and copper, essential for bronze production. When these trade routes were disrupted by natural disasters or raids, the very foundation of their power, bronze weaponry and tools, would have faltered. Internal social unrest, perhaps fueled by inequality, famine, or the oppressive demands of the ruling elite, could have led to widespread rebellions, crumbling empires from within. The Bronze Age globalized economy was a house of cards, and once one card fell, the entire structure came crashing down. The elite, accustomed to their lavish lifestyles, may have been slow to adapt, clinging to old systems even as the world around them burned. As the smoke cleared, a new age slowly dawned. The collapse, though devastating, paved the way for the Iron Age. Iron, a more abundant and locally sourced metal, became the material of choice, reducing reliance on the complex long-distance trade networks of the Bronze Age. This shift decentralized power, allowing smaller, more resilient communities to emerge. The monumental palace complexes of the Bronze Age gave way to simpler, more independent settlements. It was a brutal reset, a forced evolution that reshaped society from the ground up. This transition wasn't immediate. It was a slow, painful crawl out of the Dark Age, but it fundamentally altered the course of human history, setting the stage for the classical civilizations we know today. Today, most scholars agree that no single cause explains the collapse. Instead, it was likely a perfect storm of interconnected factors. Climate change weakening agricultural output, leading to famine and migration. The destabilizing raids of the sea peoples exploiting this vulnerability. Internal social unrest and rebellions. And the breakdown of the highly interdependent economic system. Imagine a domino effect, where each crisis exacerbated the next, pushing already stressed societies past their breaking point. Recent archaeological findings continue to refine our understanding, showing that the destruction wasn't always as widespread or immediate as once thought, but rather a complex series of regional collapses that cascaded into a systemic breakdown. The narrative of a sudden, universal destruction is giving way to a more nuanced view of resilient pockets and varied experiences. Yet, the mystery of how a civilization so advanced could fall so completely remains a haunting reminder of the fragility of even the greatest empires. The late Bronze Age collapse stands as one of history's most profound and chilling mysteries. It reminds us that even the most advanced and interconnected civilizations are vulnerable to a confluence of forces beyond their control, from the enigmatic sea peoples to devastating droughts, from internal strife to a radical shift in technology. The threads of collapse were many and intertwined. What lessons can we draw from this ancient catastrophe? Are we, in our own interconnected world, susceptible to similar systemic vulnerabilities? The answers remain buried beneath the sands of time, whispered in the ruins of forgotten cities. The collapse wasn't just the end of an era. It was a stark warning, etched into the very fabric of human history. What do you think was the primary cause of this immense downfall? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by the dark corners of history and unsolved enigmas, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more chilling tales.